Governor Mitt Romney has made his debut on the world stage as a presidential candidate, and his act has been met with a collective groan. It happened when NBC News' Brian Williams, interviewing Romney in London, asked Romney if London looked like it was ready for the games. Here's what he said.
You know, it's hard to know just how well it will turn out. There are a few things that were disconcerting. The stories about the private security firm not having enough people, the supposed strike of the immigration and customs officials. That obviously is not something which is encouraging, because in the games, there are three parts that make games successful. Number one, of course, are the athletes. That's what overwhelmingly the games are about. Number two are the volunteers, and they'll have great volunteers here. But number three are the people of the country. Do they come together and celebrate the Olympic moment? And that's something which we only find out once the games actually begin.
In other words, Mr. Romney managed to insult the British on their own turf about an event they have been planning for 7 years. Bear in mind, Mitt Romney's European tour was designed to position him as the president in waiting, the wise and graceful statesman. And his appearance in London was supposed to remind people of how he supposedly saved the Salt Lake City Winter Olympics in America. Suffice it to say, the British were unimpressed. Here's the British Prime Minister David Cameron.
We are holding an Olympic Games in one of the busiest, most active, bustling cities anywhere in the world. I mean, of course, it's easier if you hold an Olympic Games in the middle of nowhere.
The middle of nowhere. Romney reportedly tried to put things right in his meeting with the Prime Minister, particularly since Mr. Cameron had gone out of his way to host the presidential candidate. Later, outside of 10 Downing Street, Romney began his long and winding walk back.
I also applaud the work of the organizing committee in bringing the Olympic experience right into the heart of London.
But that was not nearly enough for the British press. So Romney added this.
We talked about the great progress that has been made in organizing the games. My experience as an Olympic organizer is that there are always a few very small things that end up going not quite right in the first day or so. Those get ironed out. And then when the games themselves begin and the athletes take over, all the mistakes of the organizing committee, and I made a few, all of those are overwhelmed by the many things that the athletes carry out that capture the spirit of the games.
Nah, still not quite there. Romney tried out this non-apology apology this way.
I'm very delighted with the prospects of a highly successful Olympic Games. What I've seen shows imagination and forethought and a lot of organization, and expect the Games to be highly successful.
Prime Minister Cameron then decided to throw Mr. Romney a bone.
What Mitt Romney said to me is that he thought it looked extremely well organised, the venues looked good, the country is well prepared. He ran a successful Olympic Games in his own country, and I think he's very much looking forward to going to see some of the events here. So I felt a vote of confidence from what he said.
That was hardly the end of it. Take a look at what London's mayor had to say in front of thousands in Hyde Park.
I hear there's a guy called Mitt Romney who wants to know whether we're ready. He wants to know whether we're ready. Are we ready? Are we ready? Yes, we are. The venues are ready. The stadium is ready. The aquatic centre is ready. The velodrome is ready. The security is ready. The police are ready. The transport system is ready. And our Team GB athletes are ready, aren't they?
Sound pretty ready to me. The Times blared the headline, PM delivers Olympic put-down to Romney. From The Guardian, Mitt Romney's Olympic blunder. And the Daily Mail, Cameron hits at Romney. The Daily Mail's political editor delivered frequent tweets. Another verdict from one Romney meeting, apparently devoid of charm, warmth, humor, or sincerity. Serious dismay in Whitehall. Worse than Sarah Palin. Total car crash. Romney blunders again by revealing he's had supposedly top-secret briefing by MI6 boss. Do we have a new W on our hands? Let's not forget that Mitt Romney incessantly complains about President Obama apologizing for America, which President Obama has never done. Let's not forget that Mitt Romney got plenty of government aid to bail out the Salt Lake City Olympics. He even registered as a lobbyist to soak the government for as much as he could. And by all means, let's remember the commemorative Olympic pins from Salt Lake City. They are. They were made in China, according to BBC News. And yes, the one in the middle is Mitt Romney, which, if you think about it, looks a bit like this guy. the egotistical dude from Beauty and the Beast. See the likeness? That's awfully nice. And one more thing. Mitt Romney's wife has made it to the Olympics with her horse. But Mitt Romney is so intent on not sounding like a rich guy, he said this about his wife's Olympic event.
I have to tell you, this is Anne's sport. I'm not even sure which day the sport goes on. She will get the chance to see it. I will not be watching the event. I hope her horse does well, but just the honor of being here and representing our country and seeing the other Olympians is something which I'm sure the people that are associated with this are looking forward to.
Maybe he's getting another briefing from MI6. Get your cell phones out. I want to know what you think. Tonight's question: did Mitt Romney fail his first international audition? Text A for yes, text B for no to 622-639. Or go to our blog at ed.msnbc.com. I'll bring you the results later in the show. Joining me now is political commentator and satirist Martin Lewis, also a contributor to the Huffington Post. Welcome, my friend.
Hello.
Look, just how big of a mess has Mitt Romney gotten himself into?
Well, it's a big pile of Mitt, frankly. It's really difficult because I have to say, for the first time in his life practically, on one level, Mitt Romney might actually be correct. The British organisation of the Olympics has not been that great, and it's conceivable that there will be some big blunders. However, it is not the job of an American politician to come to Britain and say that. That's our job to criticise ourselves. We don't need an American. It would be as though a British socialist politician would go to America and say that America's economic woes were as a result of all the vulture capitalists such as Mitt Romney and his cronies at Bain Capital that caused the problems in America. That's not a job for British socialists to say. That's a job for American socialists like Newt Gingrich and Rick Santorum. So that's not the right thing to be done.
Surely, and we've certainly been trumpeting that line here on the show. Here is yet more from Mitt Romney as he tried to walk back his comments.
I don't know of any Olympics that's ever been able to be run without any mistakes whatsoever, but they're small. And I was encouraged, for instance, to see that something that could have represented a real challenge, which was immigration and customs officers on duty, that is something which was resolved, and people are all pulling together.
Brother Martin, did his repeated attempts to correct himself do any good at all?
Oh, no, he dug bigger and bigger holes. I love the one where he talked to Brian Williams about the concern about the private security firm that had been hired, and there were problems there. Hello? It used to be security was done by federal workers, good union workers, but now it's outsourced. Does this ring a bell? This was what Bain Capital's philosophy is, and Mitt Romney's is. Yeah, you know, if you go to the Acme Night Watchman company from Mumbai, maybe your security won't be as good as having good national federal workers. So he's complaining or speculating about a problem that would be mirroring his own policy. Another example of that is the fact that he said that he didn't think the British public might be supportive and that the British public might not get behind the Olympic Games. Well, I got news for Mitt Romney. The British public has been clinically depressed for the last 2 years because it has a government practicing the very economic policies that Mitt Romney's advocating. It's been big tax cuts for the wealthy and a big cut down on social services to help the poor and underprivileged. So no wonder the British public are a little bit depressed at the moment.
Well, I'll follow your advice and not chime in on that criticism. You said it well enough. Prime Minister Cameron seemed to go out of his way to be hospitable, other than that one well-placed jab, but Romney didn't do much for the special relationship, did he?
Certainly not. Look, it's not very hard. It's not rocket science to actually to create a good relationship between an American president and a British prime minister. I mean, George Bush just put out some doggy treats, and he had Tony Blair acting like a French poodle. I mean, it's not hard to do. So to alienate your allies is not really good sense. Furthermore, he not only alienated David Cameron, but he alienated the leader of the British Labour Party, who could be the next Prime Minister, Ed Miliband, by not even remembering his name. He turned around to him at one point in a press conference today and said, Mr. Leader. This would be like if Ed Miliband turned and said, Mr. Candidate. I mean, come on. How hard is it to remember the word Miliband? The very first part of it is Millie, like the millions that Mitt Romney has in the Cayman Islands. It shouldn't have been that hard for him to remember.
If he had been listening to Lil Wayne, a milli, a milli, a milli, why won't Mitt Romney be watching his own wife's Olympic event? Doesn't that seem a bit odd to you that he went out of his way to discount the fact that he'd be watching and said he really wouldn't?
Well, he's going to have some problems to answer with Ann Romney. I don't know how he'll get on there, but I do wish to defend him on one point. It's been said that he should not have divulged the fact that he met the head of MI6, which is a very secretive organisation. In fairness to him, what he actually did was he met Judi Dench, who plays M in the James Bond films, and he got a little confused.
What about the fundraiser he's having with the people behind the LIBOR scandal? I mean, isn't this interesting? And the Barclays and so on. I mean, what's he over there doing?
Well, it's very important for him to try and raise money from rich Americans in London and Britain. So he's going out and doing that. But he's put his foot in his mouth yet again, because it's just been revealed some of the comments he's made in the last couple of years about Britain. He called it a second-tier nation. He said that it had produced nothing that anyone wants. Hello, Shakespeare, Dickens, the Beatles. Tea. You know tea, Mitt Romney, the drink that you're not allowed to have because it stimulates the brain, you know, something that the hard of thinking worry about.
The 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. Martin Lewis, thanks so much for your time tonight.
My great pleasure. Thank you.
Remember to answer tonight's question there at the bottom of the screen. And share your thoughts on Twitter @EdShow and on Facebook. I want to know what you think. Coming up, his book is called No Apology. Yet Mitt Romney spent a good part of today apologizing. Evan McMorris Santoro of Talking Points weighs in. We'll be right back.